Hi guys, it's Andreas Wauters again, coming at you with my second driver vlog. Today we will be talking about the overpopulated Formula Challenge grid, driver's bubbles and relative driver skill. As always, this video will be uploaded to both my personal esport channel, Bytes Live, and the SimZone Network YouTube channel. If you are watching either of those channels, go check out the other one, links are in the description. In the background there is some video footage of me in a practice race I did, an offline practice race. I wanted to practice my racing dueling skills in a rainy condition, so I put both Super League, Super Cup and Formula Challenge cars on the grid, 40 of them in total, to make sure that it would be an exciting and difficult race because of the different speeds of the cars. Now it didn't really turn out the way I wanted to, because apparently the FC and Super Cup cars don't put on wet weather tires if it's raining. So only the Super League cars and me were on wet tires. You can't really see it because in the replay wet tires don't show. But so Formula Challenge and Super Cup were really struggling. It was really hilarious to see them. We also got a safety car, a safety car for some reason, I don't know what yet. I think there was one car that crashed, and so we had to do 2 laps behind the safety car of 8 laps. I learned nothing in this race, but it was funny. What I really want to talk about is the overpopulated FC grid. We have about 50 cars, I think. It was less in Malaysia already because people just quit because they didn't like it. And we had a lot of multi-car pileups at the back of the field, especially in turn 1 at the start and things like that. We had a similar problem in the Winter GT series. We also started with 44 cars. There was a lot of frustration, not at the front of the grid, because people at the front never feel what it's like to be in a 44 car race at the back. And I think we ended at 28. Before I go into that further, I would like to talk about why exactly it is that people at the back crash so much. And at first sight it's really really easy to say, because people at the front know what they are doing and people at the back don't. But I like to go deeper into it. In my opinion, every driver has something that I call a driver's bubble. It's kind of an area around their car that you can draw that they need to drive safely and comfortably. Sort of a margin of error. So people that start racing have a very big bubble because they don't control the car fully yet, and if they want to do a corner, they might steer in for the apex but miss it by like a meter or so, because they don't know yet how the car feels, what you can do with it and things like that. And they also make a lot more mistakes, and they need space to as margin for error so they can control the car. Now if you do a duel and 2 bubbles overlap, that's when there is an unsafe situation, when people will likely crash into each other and cause someone to retire or something. And of course, if you race longer, your drivers will make their bubble smaller because they have more experience, they know what they are doing better, and that's why at the front of the field you can see wheel-to-wheel combat between 2 cars for entire laps, maybe 2-3 laps, continuously overtaking, going near to each other because they know what they are doing. And at the back of the grid, if you get near to each other, one of them is going to make a mistake, or maybe both are going to make a mistake, and it will end in pieces. People will just retire. Now if we look at qualifying, you sort your drivers by skill, most of the time anyway. So the fast people with the small bubbles will end up at the front of the grid, and the farther you go back at the field, the bigger the bubbles become. And if you draw a graph of that, at the y-axis you can draw the bubble size, for example, and at the x-axis you can say grid position, and it will really be an exponential function that you can draw there. Now the first problem, the first corner in every race is considered by every driver to be a big problem. Before the race, people asked in the chat, they asked from go easy on the first lap, brake early, don't hit anyone in the back, just calm down and take over in the second lap or something. And that's really because there is a second factor that's important, and it's called the Constantina effect. And basically, if you have two cars driving, you have a car and someone that's behind the first car, and say you have a brake point before a corner at 100 meters, the first driver will brake first because he reaches that 100 meters mark, and the second driver in time will brake later because he maybe half a second later he reaches that same point and he will start braking. The effect of that is that for the entire braking period, the velocity of the second driver is higher than that of the first driver, and the second car will unavoidably come closer to the first car, and that really backs up the two cars and brings them together. Now, starting drivers usually don't really have that under control. They don't know what the Constantina effect is yet, and they have trouble with that. And especially in the first corner, you have this, say now 50 cars in the FC grid, and they all at the first corner, this Constantina effect applies to every single car on that grid except the first one. So you get this big grid that gets packed up in this tiny bit of space because everyone gets closer to each other, and people just get forced into each other's bubble. And at the front of the grid, that's not a problem because the bubbles are really small and they can go near each other without those bubbles. Of course, that's just a theoretical thing. You don't really see that bubbles, but those bubbles don't interact at the front of the grid because they are very small. But at the back of the grid, you force them to go near to each other, and that's when people are going to make mistakes. So the bigger you feel this, the more the bubbles will overlap, and the more chance for a multi-car pileup. Anyway, in my experience, that's my thinking about it. Of course, this is just a theory. Nothing of this is scientifically proven or something, but that's one way to look at it. Now, the Formula Challenge is supposed to be a series for beginners, for people that just start racing, and I don't think it's really a healthy situation that in a series for beginners that there are 50 cars on the grid, and at least every race, at least say 5, 6 or maybe 10 of those will get a DNF because they crash into each other and things like that. People are saying that this problem will solve itself. The grid will get smaller, and by the end of the year we will only have, say, 26, maybe 30 cars left. But I'm thinking about this, and if you really look at it, that will be because people get frustrated and stop racing. And I don't think that's really the purpose of a beginner series, to make people get frustrated with what they are doing and just stop entirely. So what I was thinking is there must be a way to solve this problem. We already talked about adding a fourth layer in the structure and the ladder structures, but that's not something that can happen this season anyway. That's not an option right now, and maybe for next year also not an option. So I was thinking why not look back at Formula 1 in the 70s and the 80s, when they also had a big grid where everyone could enter a car, and you had like also maybe 40 or 50 different cars, and then you did pre-qualifying. And in this pre-qualifying, only the 33 best times, I think, could even get into qualifying and enter the race. Now, it's not really a good idea to do pre-qualifying like they did, because that was just, you know, like qualifying, doing a fast lap and seeing if you are fast enough, because then you are going to get the problem that people will do pre-qualifying and the worst drivers won't be able to get into the race in the first place. So if a driver is slow, they won't be able to compete in any race, and they won't get any racing experience. And the moment they start working on getting better in pre-qualifying, and they get through and they can get into the race, they still don't have any race experience. And then they will cause troubles anyway, because their bubble is really big, regardless of how much they really did practice. So I was thinking, maybe you can do something like pre-qualifying races. When you look at the last race that took place, you can say maybe the top 16 or the top 20. Every number is of course customizable. Maybe the top 16 or top 20 of that race automatically qualify, and that for those people nothing really changes. They just come into the server, do practice, do qualifying, and get into the race. But for all other people that are below the top 16 in points from the previous event, they get on the server early, and they do 2 pre-qualifying races, just like the normal. You can have them be 15 laps, or if there's not enough time, you can maybe make it 10 laps or 8 laps or something. And in those 2 races, pre-qualifying races, you earn beta points or pre-qualifying points. You can get a system for that, like or use the same system as in the normal races, but those points do not count toward the championship, but the 10 best or the 12 best or the 6 best, I don't know, again numbers are customizable, go on and are qualified to enter the race. So you will have in essence you will have 2 events at the same day, and the back of the field does the pre-qualifying races, and the 10 best of those can enter in the next event, and along with the ones that are fast enough by default, and fight for championship points. And I really think that this way of working has a couple of advantages. First of all, you divide the field, for example. You divide the field into 2 separate fields, maybe, and the real races for championship will always be races with the same number of cars. You can really optimize this for, I think for Super League and Super Cups that's 26, so maybe for Formula Challenge that could be 26 too. And then you have before that another race where the rest of the people of the field competes and the 10 best go on. And secondly, you provide an extra layer of motivation, I think, because right now you have, say, 40 cars on the grids, or 50, or I don't really know how much it is at the moment, but there are only 15 people per race that can score points, and the other 35 or 25 will not score points, and that really gives kind of a low ratio of earning points to not earning points, and people will also crash more, like I said, and that could really demotivate people, because if you are doing 20 events, no, it's 18 this year, so you do 18 events, you will and after 15 of them you don't have any points yet, you are really going to think, did I really do so much effort for this? And if you add that extra layer, you can at least say, I earned so much beta points, I was almost good enough to get into the real deal and things like that. And you can really, you can be in this situation right now. People at someone at the back of the grid can say, I am improving and my goal is to finish 25th or something like that, because uh, rationally speaking they can't really go any further than that, or they would be dreaming. And if you split it up, you can say, my goal, I'm at the back of the grid and my goal is to get into the top 10 of the beta races. And so you add this extra layer of, yes, I can do it, and things like that. So I hope this makes sense on some levels. Of course, all these things are just suggestions and my personal opinion on this. I can quite surely say that at the next FC race there will be multi-core pileups again. So yeah, maybe it's something to think about. This was it, guys. Thank you for listening. I already have the subject for my next vlog, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. See you guys later.